Hi, my big book project is called, well, the title is Light Up the Night Sky, written and illustrated by me, Kelly O'Neill. And my rationale for writing this book was, one of the main things was for it to be a multicultural book so that children could learn to appreciate their own cultures that they come from, to encourage them to ask questions to their elders, because to some of them it may not appear to them to be something to do, but in order to learn more about themselves and how their culture has developed in this country as compared to the country where their ancestors may be from, this book can help them with that. So we'll go here to the dedication page. So whenever I do read this to my students, they will see that I dedicated the book to my 3 children, and that it was in honor of their great-grandmother who passed before their time, but I had the pleasure of meeting her, and that I hope they learn more about their Puerto Rican roots from this story. Then I also dedicated to young readers everywhere, that I hope that they have a chance to ask someone in their family about where they grew up and learn about their culture and more about their own culture, like I said before. And then I just thank my husband for helping me with some of the details of the story. So they see that this story that I wrote is also based off of my own life and my own family, although it's not my birth family, but they can see the importance of that by me modeling this. This is the title page, Light Up the Night Sky. And then we have the introduction. I thought it was important to give an introduction to this book because I use some Spanish words, and this is for English language learners or for a dual language classroom setting, where you may want to include some words from another culture so that kids can have their culture celebrated and included in the classroom. So in this introduction, I mention the girl's name, Estrella, that it means star, which plays out a big meaning in the book. I also talk about how Spanish Harlem is known as El Barrio, which means the neighborhood, and how many Puerto Ricans moved to that neighborhood in the borough of Manhattan. And so it's a historical thing for them to know about. And just about how she's going on a visit, Estrella's going on a visit to her abuela Romana, and she decides that she wants to hear some oral storytelling before she goes to bed, instead of, the traditional book reading, which is sometimes good to switch it up and to help kids develop a love of not only reading books, but a love of storytelling. And on this first page, as you see the illustrations, you see that there's a 10-story building where she lives now. And then you see her house in Puerto Rico, and you see the trees and the grass and how different the house looks. So here on the first page of the actual story, I talk about, there's a dialogue between the abuela and Estrella, where she's asking for her to tell her about her life. And I put a picture of a star there because her name is Estrella and it's Light Up the Night Sky, so it goes along with the theme of the book. Here we have some imagery going on and some envisioning, and that's Abuela there and Estrella on the rug. And so I really felt that teaching children to use their imaginations, to tap into their imaginations, is very important, especially in early childhood. So I decided to include some envisioning in this book. Here you see her, and she's envisioning, she's going back to her time in Puerto Rico, and the picture illustrates what she sees when she's in Puerto Rico. I explain here that a hill is like a small mountain, so that ties into geography and into social studies, so it connects beyond literacy. I also say I use the word vast for vocabulary, and I use it more than once, and I explain what vast means, and they can see from the picture that it's a vast blue sky. They can see the ocean and the different colors. I use rich vocabulary like turquoise blue and emerald green, and you could see the colors. And then here, for as long as the eye can see, there's more land. So the pictures help to support the text and the understanding of the text. Here we see when she starts referring back to New York City and the differences between them. And we see the differences in the pictures. We see the building, the overpass with the pavement and the roadway and the river here and the little park next to the river that explains where Abuela lives now. And then we see the picture of where she lived before. So here again, Abuela envisions herself. And they learn about quenepas, which is a type of fruit that is grown in Puerto Rico. I described them pretty well, and you can see how she's holding them. She's going to eat them, and you can see them on the tree. So it says they're small green pods with fleshy orange fruit inside that they eat off the pit. I described how small they are. And so here children can relate to, oh, there's this fruit that we eat from my country that a lot of people don't know about, or oh, I know how to eat apples from this country. And all the children can make self-detect connections through this fruit connection. So here we see a man, and he is selling quenepas, manzanas, and cerezas. And this book is also good for compare and contrast between the life in Puerto Rico and the life in New York. So she talks about how she climbed a tree and rested in a tree, and she picked quenepas and ate them in the tree. But here in New York, she talks about how they buy them from a fruit vendor. And they look like they're growing on a vine, but they really are just picked off the tree. And how in New York City, quenepas don't grow here. The trees don't grow here because there are 4 seasons. So that ties back into social studies. And it talks about the tropical climate that they need to grow in, and that the climate is more stable and steady all year round in Puerto Rico. So that is where quenepas grows. That connects to social studies. Here we have more envisioning, but the students can be invited to envision along with Estrella, because Abuela says, now I want you to close your eyes with me and imagine what I'm saying. Picture it in your mind. And this is really good for early childhood to start to get them to be able to close their eyes and picture things in their mind and picture the words and using the words to picture images. And if they need help, there's always the illustrations in the book. So here, this is the illustration that supports what they see. They see a pitch black sky. Again, pitch black, complete blackness, darkness, giving them some vocabulary. And we talk about the little lights that they see in the waves and the ocean. They can picture that in their mind, and when they open their eyes, this is what they see. Or if they can't picture it, they can kind of sneak a peek. Here, Abuela tells her to open her eyes, and she tells her what she described. And this refers now to science. So it makes an integration not only with social studies curriculum, but with science curriculum. And they learn about bioluminescence. And it explains that they're living organisms in the water that produce and emit light. If not, they're not sure what emit means. We could say it lets off light. It can be explained. But again, it's rich vocabulary to expose them to higher level vocabulary. Also, it makes the connection that fireflies are a type of bioluminescence that we have in New York City. So it, again, compare and contrast with the bioluminescence of the sea in Puerto Rico with the fireflies in the sky of New York City. So Abuela at sundown says, oh, it's the time when they start coming out. So she invites her to go downstairs. And here, I love this part because she uses the word, Estrella uses the word bioluminescence. And Abuela says, wow, I like how you learned a new word today. So she's showing students how she learned a new word and she's practicing it, which we want our students to do. So it encourages our students to connect with the character and maybe practice the word bioluminescence or practice the word vast or practice another word they learned in this book. And so now here we see her as a firefly in the sky of New York City and also as a bioluminescent organism in the waters of the Caribbean Sea. So here they go downstairs together because they want to see the fireflies before they disappear into the night sky. And the end says, we are all stars that light up the lives of our family. So it all connects with Estrella being a bright star, having that understanding of Spanish, the bioluminescence, the science term, and the fireflies of New York to compare and contrast with the, the fireflies of New York to compare and contrast with the bioluminescence of Puerto Rico. So I feel that this book really touches on some really important early childhood things, the pictures of the book, the rich vocabulary, giving them high level stuff, but giving them the support of explaining what a hill is or explaining what vast means as I am reading. I hope you enjoyed my book. Thank you very much.